Okay, hey everyone. Um, hey, how are y'all doing? My name is Delane Powerful. My pronouns are they, them, and also powerful. And I am the operations coordinator for NBO, for National Bailout. And I'm really excited to be here with y'all to recap this year's efforts and to have some amazing organizers and comm strategists speak through what their bailouts were like this year. So on the call with us today, we still have some folks who are making their way to the panel, to the webinar. But so far with us, we have the amazing Samantha Master from Gilda Papoose Collective. We have the brilliant comm strategist who's been helping NBO really show out, Steve Hargett from Militia Design. And we have sorry, my computer just froze. And we also have LaShawn Irby, who is showing out and representing the Midwest from BLM Lansing. And we have Arissa Hall, who's a project director from MBO, going to be joining us on this call, as well as Tiara Moore from the Philly Community Bail Fund coming on soon. So let's get started. We have a bunch of things that we want to be able to discuss and to share back with you all. And are really excited to just be giving some background and grounding. And we're going to have the folks on the call who have been doing bailouts across the country be able to give some city updates. So talk through how many bailouts were they able to do, what are their status updates, and how they're using these bailouts as a larger strategy towards ending money bail and ending pretrial detention, and eventually like moving towards abolition of all prisons and those systems. So to start off, we have had doing bailouts all over the country. We have over 36 cities that have been throwing down, bailing out Black mamas, and so far collectively have over 106 Black mamas and caregivers bailed out. And this number is continuing as folks are continuing to bail out folks as much as they can for the next couple of weeks and making sure to get as many Black moms and caregivers out as possible. And I see that Arissa Hall, again, the project director of National Bailout, just joined the call. And so I want to give you a chance actually to give some grounding and recap of our bailout efforts so far.
Yes, thank you all for joining our last and final webinar for post-Black Mamas Bailout. So yes, thank you for spending, especially those of you who have been with us for the past 5 weeks, I think, joining these calls faithfully, hearing about, learning about our work and engaging with us, and doing your own work, doing bailouts or supporting bailouts locally and nationally. So shout out to y'all. So I'm sure Delane went over the things. Again, I am, you may also hear my baby, but I am Arissa Hall. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the project director of National Bailout. Just as a bit of a grounding about the Black Mamas Bailout, which we went over in our first bailout, and also generally. So Black Mamas Bailout is a bailout action that is hosted by the National Bailout Collective every year. This has been our 3rd year, our biggest, baddest, and blackest year, with the bailing out of over 106 mamas and counting in over 35 cities. So yes. So Black Mamas Bailout the vision of Black Mamas Bailout was shared to us by Mary Hooks, the co-director of Southerners on the Ground, back in 2017, when a group of organizers were convened by Color Change in the Movement of Black Lives. During that time, we as organizers that were in that room wanted to think about how we could actually be in service to our people who are being encaged and entrapped due to the money bail system, and recognizing that Black people in our communities are being predominantly impacted and harmed by these systems. So Mary proposed that we do a bailout, and that was in us an invitation to us, and something that she has said and stated came from our ancestors who were enslaved prior, and bailed out one another, bought one another's freedom. So inviting us to remember that, remember our ancestors, and to continue to do that currently. So with that, we created an infrastructure to do a bailout, and did our first Black Mamas bailout in 2017, bailing out 100 mamas and caregivers. And that was what created the national bailout. And again, if y'all don't know, the National Bailout is a collective of Black organizers, Black lawyers, Black social workers, and just Black magic makers who are committed to creating a community-based movement to end money bail and pretrial detention. And one of our largest tactics and ways that we are doing that has been through Black Mama's Bailout, as it's been our baby, and our baby is now 3 years old. In addition to that, we have strategic priorities, which are to build a political community with the mamas that we bail out. We're going to be talking a little bit more about what that looks like and what our next steps are around that, but really want to recognize that we are not just direct service providers, but what we are people that are working towards our collective liberation together, and definitely with the folks that have been directly impacted by the systems and traps that hinders our liberation. So through that, we've launched the Free Black Mamas Fellowship, which started last year under the vision and brilliance of Janae Taylor of Gilded Papoose Collective. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that a bit later. And we also have a strategic priority of providing love leadership. So that looks like us as Black organizers doing this work and the creators of a huge tactic that has moved the country and inspired the country and shifted narratives around harm, around safety, around the criminal legal system, that we are the experts. We've been saying this and telling folks for the past 3 years about these bailouts. We've been talking and educating our people about bail, and we have the ability, the knowledge, the wisdom to continue to do this, and our voices and our expertise need to be respected within the larger landscape of bail reform and the criminal legal system, and reform within the criminal legal system. We're also abolitionists, so want to continue to advance our abolitionist politic, and have been doing that through the creation of different materials, such as the Until Freedom Comes toolkit that we created last year, which was an invitation to you all. I know some of y'all have used that this year in your bailout, so shout out to y'all. And also the popular education curriculum that we created that lives on the Movement for Black Lives policy table. We're currently in the midst of creating another resource that y'all all can engage with in August, and that will be a bail report where we talk about what it has meant for us to bail out now over 400 people together, and what are some of the lessons learned, the policies that we recommend, and the organizing strategies and tactics that we believe is necessary to win. So that is my spiel. That is National Bailout. We are here. We are continuing to do our work. We are continuing to do our work. We are super excited to welcome you, if you are new to our work and have been engaged with us due to this most recent Black Mamas Bailout, to welcome you into the village. So thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Rissa. And so, like I said earlier, we're going to have folks just talking through some updates and just letting us know how their ballot efforts went this year. And we also have some folks on the call who are also who have also been doing ballots. And so, at the end of all of us speaking and moving through our bailouts and just general updates, we're going to have time for folks to provide additional sharebacks, and also have time for question and answers. And so, if any questions are coming up, any thoughts are coming up as folks are speaking, feel free to put in the chat box in the Zoom, and we can get to that at the end. So let's move into doing city updates. Let's hear from folks on the call, updates around how your bail efforts have been going this year. So some things you want to hear and want folks on the call to hear are how many mamas and caregivers were you able to bail out? What were some general patterns you saw? What were the happiest moments that you experienced while doing these bailouts? And where are you currently in your bailout efforts? Are you still doing bailouts? And how are you using these bailouts as a part of your larger local organizing strategy and task? So um, I'll just pick one to go first. Samantha Master from Good Assistance Collective, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Can I share my video?
Absolutely, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. You let me know when I can share it, and I can also share my screen. I actually prepared a little slideshow for y'all. And
Let me into that. 1 second. Is your video also still not able to be seen?
it says I cannot share it, but you know, it might actually let me share my.
Go ahead and try now.
It's okay. You know, technology comes at us fast. Hello, beautiful people. Don't mind my messy background. I'm Sam with Go to Papoose Collective, and Go to Papoose Collective holds Free Black Mamas DMV squad. I'm just gonna share a couple of photos from our bailout because I feel like sometimes the best way to engage you in the deliciousness that is the bailouts is to like let you see the juiciness as it is. So let's see if we can get this going. Okay, well, you're gonna get a very, very quick slideshow, and then I'll go back to backwards. You know, technology be moving us fast. And so Free Black Mamas DMV, we are an OG to the degree that a 3-year-old formation of folks can be an OG. We started doing bailouts in 2017. Janae Taylor, who Arissa mentioned earlier, called me up one day and was like, hey, yo, I want to raise up money to bail out Black mamas for my birthday. You down? And because Janae is the homie and a friend and a comrade, I was like, hell yeah, I'm down. And thus we were born. Free Black Mamas DMV has actually gotten out 12 mamas this Mother's Day season, and we are on track to bail out 3 more this week. So like this is the most people we've been able to bail out in a single bailout spell, and this feels really, really delicious. And so really want to give deep gratitude to the National Bailout for all of the ways you've held and supported us. The picture to the right is actually a couple. So we have bailed out actually in this season also 4 queer women. And it's our first time being able to bail out explicitly queer women. And so the 2 sisters you see on the right are a couple that we were able to bail out. And that was just really delicious to be able to both bail them out, hold them, and ground them as we welcome them back into community. So yeah, y'all, we actually held a cookout. We held a guerrilla cookout in the jail parking lot because fuck 12. Also because we are about the freedom business of joy. And so we were able to we did the electric slide. We had like a tabletop grill going and the police couldn't tell us nothing. So we were like really, really psyched to be able to support folks. We had a free Black Mama's Day cake, Happy Black Mama's Day cake at our homecoming celebration. We also did our very first ever homecoming celebration in Bmore, which was really, really delicious. Raheem Devon came through and sung to mamas. And so it is a labor of freedom that was absolutely incredible and amazing. In the DMV, we also bailed out specifically, we did 4 counties, which Maryland has 26 counties. However, we were really strategically able to hone in on 4 counties that we thought were hubs for how Black women, Black femme folks, GNC folks were being targeted. Prince George's County, which is right outside of DC. It's like a predominantly Black middle-class DC suburb, which has a huge history of hyper-incarceration, police violence, and policing. Anne Arundel County, which is kind of the furthest east in mainland Maryland. Baltimore County, where Corinne Gaines was murdered, in Baltimore City. What we have found is actually that we thought we understood bail in jail in Maryland, and by bailing out those 4 counties, it has actually expanded our worldview about what counties are actually holding our people for low-level offenses, for like technically low but still insurmountable bond amounts, and what cities like Baltimore City are refusing to allow people to actually be bonded out. And so there's a lot of remanding of bail in cities like Baltimore for still low-level offenses that were previously bondable. And so it gave us a really in-depth real-time view of the flexibility of the state in caging people. I'm pictured here with Miss Tammy, who was actually attacked by the police and then was charged with attempted murder. And so we are doing court support with her right now to make sure she is prepared for her case. But she was so excited when we bailed her out. And this is a picture of a mama we bailed out in Baltimore County, Miss Paula, who was incredibly grateful and just didn't think that we were actually real. And we hear that so often, that people literally don't think that we are real until we bond them out, because they were like, who would care about me? And I think that is such a true statement about the ways that many Black women and Black folks, Black queer and trans folks, when we are trapped behind a system, when we are literally invisible, when the opportunity comes for someone to care, people literally cannot believe that people would care about them. And so I think that's one of the pieces that grounds this really radical and revolutionary political act. Again, we had our first ever homecoming celebration in the DMV. And so this is just like some gift bags we put together, like letting folks know that we love them. And also we are in this for the long haul to end cash bail and pretrial detention. And this is the squad. This is the squad who's helped us hold it down. Our co-leads, the folks who helped ground the homecoming celebration, some volunteers, really wanting to be clear that this is a squad primarily led from directly impacted people too, which is a really delicious way that I think the DMV is like throwing down. And this last photo is of the Black woman who emptied out her checking. So we had our community center. It looks like a basement, but it's a community center in Baltimore called Greenmount West. And a Black woman emptied out her checking and savings account to open up a community center in East Baltimore to make sure young people felt safe in their streets because they were having the police called on them. And so I just wanted to hold the groundedness of Black women dreaming, of Black queer women dreaming, and then dreams manifesting into revolutionary and radical ways. And so that is a snippet, like a taste test into the DMV bailouts this season. And I heard the question asked, kind of, what does this mean for the political trajectory of our work? And so we know that Maryland is the state that accepts the third largest amount of donations from the bail bonds industry, and that our politicians are allowing themselves to be bought for little to nothing, like $78,000, right, to individual campaigns and politicians. And so this bailout has really elevated how we understand the powerful role the bail bonds industry is playing in the caging of people and the profiteering off of people being caged. It has also given us a deeper look into at least these 4 counties, into how they are assessing bail. And we are actually documenting our experiences with things like how long we waited. So there was one woman I paid bail for at 9:30 in the morning, and she wasn't released until 2:30 the following morning. And so there is no urgency with releasing people. There is the conditions that people are held in are like really horrible and horrific. And so we are documenting and downloading these experiences with each other so that we can actually create a strong case and campaign for how we must end cash bail and pretrial detention in a way that actually builds power and builds coalition. So one delicious thing that the DMV did this year is we actually had 4 organizations holding down the DMV bailout. Gilda Pepley's Collective, which I'm a part of, Life After Release, led by Kiana Johnson, Baltimore Action Legal Team, led by Amon Friedman, and Out for Justice, led by Nicole Hansen. And what we did was we actually had each organization anchor a site, and each site, and then each organizational lead give capacity in their area of expertise. So for example, Amon, who's our legal person, made sure that each person had access to legal support. And we knew the mamas we were bailing out. Life After Release provided court support across counties. Out for Justice is really grounding our wraparound services. And so like we are thinking about this as a capacity building campaign, and also the beginnings of a political campaign to really take on bail, jail, pretrial detention, and incarceration. And I know I'm speaking very fast, so I know that the video will be shared. But the last thing I'll share is like the picture from the homecoming celebration of the folks we bailed out, of like the people who were able to come. And there was just like, and this is actually the folks we were able to bail out across years. And so from 2017 until 2019, and hopefully there will be pictures that we will share with you all, that MBO will share with you all about with all of the folks we were able to bail out. So like we are committed to folks, not just for like a spell or a season, but this is a deep loving commitment to both shifting the political climate of our state, but also shifting the ways that we think about community and the expansive ways we think about what does it mean to be in community with each other and to love up on each other. And I'll pause here for questions, and I'll also click through. Maybe there's an additional picture. Okay, perhaps not.
I think we're gonna save questions to the end, but yes, and so much love to you all in Maryland and DMV and Samantha and Gilda Peppers, and all of you all that threw down for that. So thank you so much, Sam.
Yes, absolutely. And I really want to hone in the part you were saying around like this being a capacity building campaign, this being a part of this work not being siloed, but being a part of a larger mission and building power and coalition to not only in Moneyville and pretrial detention, but close down all the prisons and shut down police and all these different systems. Like really seeing these things as like a comprehensive tactic that we're moving towards for full abolition. So thank you. Would like to pass it on to LaShawn to move through y'all's bailout. You're currently muted. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Hey, everybody. Hi, family. First of all, I just want to get out a shout out to DMV because y'all did the doggone thing, and we're gonna be like you when we grow up. That's amazing. So in Lansing, we have this is our second year to do the bailout, and one of the things that we found is that most of the mamas need some extra support around family, like they have family out of town. And so for this year, we had 4 women that we were looking at to try to bail out, and of those 4, 2 of them one was sentenced and one her bail was revoked. So we had 2 other women that we were working with. We were able to actually bail out one of them. And the other one, we had some questions about, just because of the type of charge it was, that it might put children in harm, because she had a 1st and 2nd degree charge for child abuse. But we did decide as a chapter that we want to offer her some support, because she did say she wants some help with parenting skills. So we're going to try to connect her with some people on the inside. But the one mama that we did get out, I'm really excited to report that we weren't able, well, not excited to report this part. We weren't able to do the celebration yet because what she needed was some inpatient care. So she's actually in care right now. We got her out the first night. She didn't have anywhere to go, so we got her a safe place. But then the next day, when I was doing the deep case managing with her, she talked about how she really wanted to get clean and sober. So I found an emergency place for her to go, and then she's in a long-term facility now. And I have to say the highest moment in all of this was talking to her mom, and her just being so grateful that she knows where she is and she's trying to get help. Her mom actually has cancer, so she has an extra desire to get clean and do well. But she's very interested in being a part of the fellowship program to help other mamas. And as well as the person that we bailed out, the mama we bailed out last year, is also interested in going to be a part of the fellowship program. I can say, to speak to talking about the urgency of releasing people. When we got there, the bail was $10,000, so we had to pay $1,000. The inconvenience fee, yeah, it was an convenience fee of $90 that we needed to pay. So we did that. But after paying for her to get out, we sat there for a long time waiting for her to come out. And miraculously, the phones went down and the computers went down. And then somehow when I went outside and posted on Facebook that we were waiting for the computers and the phone to come up, boom, she came out. So that was kind of a trip. Are y'all still there? Oh, okay. Nobody was moving. I thought I had lost y'all and I was talking to myself. Okay, cool. A lot of the issues that we noticed, though, around mental health issues, so this gave us an opportunity to see where we need to go deeper. Like, for instance, a lot of people are arrested because they have mental health needs, and it gets worse when they get in there because they can't get they can't get their medication. So that just makes things worse. I can say that we had a lot of people who were excited about getting involved with the work after seeing it. I have a video, I don't have pictures, but I have a video from some news coverage that I can share with you. But I also wanted to say that we've decided that we're going to be, for court support, we're going to do participatory defense, because we had a lot of people that said they want to get involved. So we're going to make sure that they show up to help mamas when they do go to jail. I mean, they do go to court. And let's see what else. I kind of feel like I'm all over the place. Oh, and I guess the further thing is, you know, as we start to look at ending cash money bail, our governor actually signed an executive order talking about looking at pretrial conditions. So that's opening the door for us to go talk to her and make sure that it really does benefit us. So that's all I got. I hope that was everything. Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was dope. I heard I was told my volume isn't working, so folks can hear me, just let me know. But we can pass it on. Thank you so much, LaShawn, and moving us through
Sure.
all the dope work y'all have been doing. Really excited about next year, building capacity. Tierra, would you like to go next?
Trying to unmute the video. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? I don't think it's on. Am I on here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just sharing pretty much how the bailout went. It went real good. We had several meetings to decide. We had over 40 referrals for mamas to be bailed out. We decided on 10. We're still waiting on 2. We actually bailed out 8 mamas so far. We still waiting on support phone calls for the other 2 ladies that we're planning on bailing out. That was part of the first round of bailouts. We also, I think we have like 3 or 4 more referral requests to bail mamas out. So we're in our second round of bailouts. We have our community dinner on Saturday. That's the 18th. I thought it was the 19th, but it's actually the 18th. So we will be having a community dinner at, I think it's some grill. It's in Philadelphia, but we having the first community dinner. Also, mamas, are scheduled to have their hair appointments this week with community salons. They have gift cards and just being in support. One of the things that I mentioned is staying in communication with mamas. They have a group of volunteers that's calling mamas, but I'm not sure if they're being paid visits. And just having that fellowship and that connection. I know when I was part of the Mamas They Bail Out, Leslie was there the entire step of the way. She was actually at the jail when I got out. Soon I got home, she went and got Nas and she came to my house and we sat, we ate, we talked, kind of like worked on a goal plan, and just being in communication with our mamas to, be able to assist them in staying free, making sure they're supported and not just feeling like we're an agency or something they just bail them out. And seeing how that's going. They have a set of volunteers that's working with participatory defense hubs that our mamas are attending. I know 3 of them have went to court already, and they have continuous. So I'm, basically able to follow them on the court website to be able to see what's going on with court. Calling mamas to see, what do they need, what's coming up. Are they going to the hubs? It's basically tracking our mamas and making sure, we being in connection with them. I know at the jail, they ordered pizza, which I thought was a horrible idea because the mamas, by the time they were released, that pizza was cold. It was really interesting. Some people weren't able to stay because of the time. They said between 11 and 1 that the mamas would be released, but they didn't actually get released until 3:30, almost 4. So some of the people had to leave. And I just feel like, moving forward with the bailout is that we need, a better communication system with the jail to have an exact time frame so we can tell people so they can be there and support our sisters, because a lot of them were there at like 10:30 expecting for them to be out between 11 and 1, and they stayed there all day, which, some people had to go to work, they had children. So, just coming together, seeing what works, what don't work, but basically supporting our mamas. I'm one of the mamas that was bailed out, and I know what it means to have those phone calls. If I'm up late night and something is going on, I done got a bill and I can't pay it. It's just staying in connection with our mamas, and that's my biggest thing. That's why I watch this bail thing all day. I'm constantly sending emails. Hey, what's going on? Have we talked to Brittany? Had we talked to, because she went to court on the 14th. So just making sure we staying in communication with our mamas and supporting them, because it's important, to get them involved. One of our mamas was at the Black Mamas rally. We had a Black Mamas rally yesterday at the City Hall to end cash bail. A lot of people came out. A lot of people that's already doing this work came out. I felt like it should have been more community people. But yeah, some of our mamas was there. So it's a learning for me, because this is my first year actually being a part of the bailout. Last year I was bailed out, and this is my first year helping facilitate and being at the decision-making table and seeing what works and what don't work, what can we improve, what mamas might be thinking, because I was one of them mamas, like, I don't know if I'm going to court if I don't have any money. I don't have money for parking. So how are we assisting our mamas in that process? Because, do they need SEPTA key cards, for bus? Do you need bus transportation? I'm always thinking of what do these mamas need that I needed to be able to help me stay free. So that's a lot of our the recap here in Philly. They have an awesome team of people that's working, but again, I don't think any of them was arrested. So it's different. Like, I have a different outlook on it because I was actually behind bars. And they're decision makers that, haven't had any issues with the justice system. So, because I'll, mention something, they're like, oh yeah. So it's like, it's really good to have that balance between the two. You working together and not, and they're taking my ideas and using them and not being, it's not being perceived as she's trying to do more. So it's really, interesting. It's exciting. I stayed at work so I could take this call, because I knew if I would have went home, I'd have been on mama duty. But so yeah, I don't know how to share pictures, but I got a lot of pictures from my bailout. I don't know how to do all that. I ain't that fancy.
Yeah, well, if you want to share pictures, I'm happy. I'll be sending out a follow-up email just to give folks notes in the video since recording. So if folks want to send me videos, I know LaShawn, you just send me a video. You can send me photos. Yeah, we can send those out with the email. Absolutely.
Yeah. We have some awesome people here in Philly. Our district attorney's office is really working with us to, get the best outcome for these mamas that we bailed out. Ending cash bail, that's a conversation we had yesterday. I don't know. It was interesting, but we're able to get our mamas free. We did notice and come across some of the, so we got 40 requests from Black mamas, but a total of 135 people in general, and that was Hispanic men, women, and we were looking at white people were charged with the same crime, but we noticed that Black women bails were a whole lot higher. and they had the same charge. So I went and did some research and looked them up to see, you know, are they first offenders? Have they ever been arrested? And kind of like seeing how were they able to determine. And it was pretty much the same. So it was very interesting, you know, interesting to see that Black women are charged at least 3 times for the same crime of someone of their peers. So it was interesting. Like a Black lady, she had I think hers was 400 and some thousand, and it was a white lady had the same crime and it was 150,000. So I'm like, I heard like 2 times. It was interesting.
Yeah, I would love. Can y'all hear me speak?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would love. So I want to make sure we get to. Even I think Shazar was on the call, but isn't now. But if we have time at the end, I would love to go more into just what you've been seeing locally in regards to who gets the highest bails. We know it's Black women and femmes.
Yep.
So we had Shazar. Strategist, want to move us through just what you've been doing. Oh, hello. Would love for you to share just your role in the bills and what you've been finding.
Hey everybody, I'm joined here by my amazing daughter Sahar, so please excuse any toy noise that you hear. She's on her laptop, I'm on my laptop, we're making it work. My name is Stephen. I have been helping and leading on the communications and creative strategy. This is my 3rd year participating in National Bailout, and this year is really exciting, and it was everything that we hoped for and more. And you know, I don't have too much to say today because I think that it's really the organizers and the other folks that have been speaking, some of the folks that are here that organize bailouts, and some of the folks here that are supporters that really showed up and showed out. My role and my team's role is really in like uplifting and connecting the story, and just making sure that we're like getting that fundraising link out, you know. So one thing that I'll say is that it was very, it was like a roller coaster this year, the bailouts, because, and I think that we learned some really good stuff. For instance, we, you know, there are local fundraisers that are happening, and then there's for National Bailout, the national fundraiser, and that national pot that local groups are supported for, and support some of the programming that's going on throughout the year. So we lead on helping to make sure that we raise all of the coins that we need so that we can free Black mamas and provide services and run the fellowship program. So we tried to start early this year, actually. We started in early April to start to spread the word about free Black mamas and about the bailouts that were going to be coming. Okay. But what we found is that it was really in the 5 days leading up to the bailout that we just started to receive an enormous outpouring of support, where it really went from 0 to 100 real quick, as they say, or as we ended up raising over $1 million, which was just purely exciting on the other side of Twitter, the way that it just turned up and how much support was coming, how many people were talking about it. A huge shout out to the folks at Berlin Rosen, who were the publicists and the PR folks that helped to make sure that many stories were told. Many of the folks that are the other panelists that you can see right now were featured in those stories. And also locally, there was a ton of stories. And those stories are still rolling in, as are the, I'm really excited and elated right now to be hearing more details of those bailouts, because as you all know, we had more than 35 cities that these bailouts happened. So I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge shout out. I don't know if they're here right now, to Miriam Kava, who was really integral, I feel like, in our fundraising online on Twitter. They really like uplifted us to a lot of people that really care about issues of jail and prisons and abolition and it really helped us to get in stride, and we were able to raise a lot of money and far exceed our goals, which I'm really, really excited about. We're going to continue to communicate those stories that we're hearing and that we see have been going on locally. So as Delane said, please send them pictures and videos, and maybe another request going around for that, because we just want to document as much as we can. And there's some stuff that we're able to pull from Twitter, but like Sam, I saw some really clean pictures that, you know what I'm saying, we got to have over here. I'm sure that everybody has a lot of different stuff that they were able to get from it. So I'll just say that this was really inspiring. And I think that when I look out, I think that we're starting a new tradition around Mother's Day. And the way that people showed up this year to support this effort was more than we've seen in previous years. The fundraising goal that we met, and the different cities, the number of cities and places that we were able to do bailouts just exceeded what we've done in previous years. I'm just really encouraged, because I think that until we can end pretrial detention and close all the jails, I think that it's really starting to catch on what we're doing, and folks are expecting it, and folks are going to show up every year to support it until we don't have to do this anymore. So I'm just really encouraged, and I'm really grateful. So thanks, man. Oh, also, I was in California filming these bailouts, and I think that my dog Lemmy is here, and I'm really looking forward to them telling the story about the bailouts in California too, because it just broke me and rebuilt me, and it was just such an emotional journey, and y'all should hear about it.
So thanks so much, Steve, and thanks for all that you've done, really getting us out there and having a visual representation, an accurate visual representation of MBO and all the folks who are going down this year. And yes, we're gonna have time. Let me definitely want to hear from you. At the end of the call, we open up space for folks in the talk to also just share about their own feelings. Y'all can't hear me? Okay. Arissa, can you hear me? Would you like to move us to our next point? Yes.
Can y'all hear Delane? Can y'all hear Delane?
No, I can't hear.
Oh, hear them, yeah. Okay. So the next, Janae says yes, that they can hear you, Delane. The next person that we would like to speak and give a report back. Oh, okay, Delane. Okay. So the next folks that we would like to give a report back is Zarzar from the Greensboro chapter of Song. So, hey, Zarzar.
Hey y'all, hey. So report back. Start at the beginning. We did our calls. I believe our call started with Song around March. We had weekly calls to kind of get us up to speed. This is our first bailout. So that was a big deal. And we also just formed our chapter in September. So we're new. Yeah. So like working with like this new formation of people and a new structure coming from another org was really interesting. We ended up doing bi-weekly calls to do check-ins and forming teams, which was really super helpful, that people had like their own teams, and the teams did their own calls so that they can get prepared. So we had like fundraising, we had money handler, we had our tactical people to get like gift bags and everything together, base building. We had started off with like one team, which evolved several times. And I ended up holding 3 roles. I do not recommend that. It's not a good idea to try to hold 3 roles. When we got closer to the bailout, I got like super clear what we needed to do. Just some lessons in that. We should have maybe requested the money a bit earlier, because we got it on the day of the bailout. And even though we called banks ahead of time and tried to like make sure that it wasn't going to be a problem that we're coming in and cashing checks that were drawn on that bank in large amounts, it did end up being a problem, and we were delayed by like 6 hours the first day, just trying to get that money out. As far as finding mamas, that's also something I wish we would have started really hitting the ground hard with. That was one of the many roles that I was holding. And so I did court watching, but wasn't really coming up. What I found was like a lot of folks, they were going to their bail hearings, didn't have any family in the crowd. It's kind of difficult to like talk to them or their public defender. And so I was striking out there, started hanging out in front of the jail and just talking to people. That kind of was, you know, people weren't taking it seriously. They didn't believe that we were really going to do this. They were asking if we were bail bondsmen, all kinds of things. We ended up putting out the hotline. The hotline did not pick up until after we bailed out our first mamas, in all honesty, and then it just took off from there. We were able to identify mamas based on how much funds we had and didn't want to exceed more than 5 mamas, that we didn't overwhelm our case manager. This might be something I would maybe take up with Song. I'm not sure if it's like Song or MBO who decided it, that we would have a case manager. If we had had 2, maybe 3 case managers, we could have got out a lot more mamas. Just because like our most of the bails that we saw were either extremely low or extremely high, right? So if we could have gotten out low bail mamas, we could have got a lot of them and maybe put that money towards the case managers and supporting their work for the next 90 days. Hi, friend. So what else is there? The community outpouring of support was amazing. People who I had no contact with, but they'd just been watching us on social media just showed up. So Siempre, you know, we had Black and brown people out there. We had white and Black clergy out there. We had young people, like little bitty babies, all the way up to elders. Beloved Community Center really came in the clutch. The only clergy that I know of currently that have access to the jails is their Reverend Wesley Morris. And he just happened to be walking up, coming to visit somebody. And I was like, hey, can you go in and like talk to people? We've been having conversations for almost like 10 days. And I guess I just never really made that direct ask. And he was like, sure. So we gave him a list of names. And from there, it was pretty easy for us to use the jail scrapes to identify the mamas and get them out. We got them out, of course, like super grateful. We were able to give them like cell phones, rides to where they needed to go. And put them in touch with the case manager, who I'm trying to get some updates on now. I know there's been a little trouble keeping in contact with them since they've been bailed out. So we're hoping that they'll come for the homecoming. We can like talk about how we do want to be in community with them a little bit more. Because of the nature of the thing, we only got to do one interview with them before we bailed them out. And so I think that if we had had more contact with them, maybe it would have been different. I'm not sure, because I've heard mixed report backs on how that goes when you have more contact with them prior. I'm trying to think of anything else. Media is now starting to like reach out. We had sent press releases, but I really think no one was taking us seriously until we actually started bailing mamas out. So yeah, going forward, there's some people who we couldn't get out that we want to stay in touch with, and we'll be going to their court dates to see what they need. A real need that we have is like hooking them up with like good lawyers who have who will do pro bono work. Public defender's office is really not great here, and the one public defender that we have relationship with quit because he knows it's trash how they do things here. So yeah, I'll stop there unless there's like any additional questions. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, that was dope. And we're gonna have folks give questions at the end. But thank you so much for doing that share back, for all the work y'all been doing and throwing down in Greensboro. Really excited to have y'all throwing down this year. Can y'all hear me now? Wonderful. Dope. So those are all our panels that we had. And again, we know there are folks on the call who are listening in that also have some really dope bailout stories that you want to hear. And I think it's been really interesting that we've heard multiple times on this call so far that folks thought that this wasn't real, that folks are asking, trying to identify Black mamas and caregivers to bail out, that folks are strategizing, mobilizing, raising funds, and like figuring out all these jail and bail systems to get our folks out. And folks don't think that this is real, which is like a testament to, one, people don't think that there are other people who think that we want to get people out of cages, that folks don't deserve and should not be behind cages, and that don't think that, like, Black folks, we Black folks do what we got to do to support and to love up on and to get our Black folks, like by any means necessary. And I think it's just really interesting and also a powerful thing about this movement that we have been moving through for the past 3 years, and how folks are really understanding and seeing the full like possibilities that Black folks have created, have manifested, and are moving into to create the futures that we want to live into. So really, so much love for all y'all. Thank y'all so much for these updates. And so I'm gonna pass it back to Arissa to just move us through some general national bailout next steps, and then we can open it up because we want to hear from y'all who are listening in as well.
Word. Mad love to y'all again for all the work that y'all have been doing to free our people this past week and are continuing to do. In the spirit of recognizing that this work is a long work and a work that will be continuing beyond Mama's Day, just want to share some of the next steps that we are working post Mama's Day. So as Steve shared, we were able to raise over $1 million. So yes, shout out to everyone that gave. Yes, we can do spirit fingers, we can do a little bop. That is something that we need to celebrate because people were really put their resources and their coins to where their spirit and their heart was. Right? And people really believed in the vision to free Black mamas, and that people really believed in us, right? Some folks didn't and some folks did. And there was a huge number of people that did. So yes, let's celebrate. And in our celebration, we are going to be having, some folks have already had the homecomings that some organizers already shared back. And the main part of the work that is ahead of us and something that National Bailout is deeply invested in is supportive services. Our people have needs. Our people have identified needs that range from childcare and transportation to short-term and long-term housing, to mental health needs and therapy, medication, rehab, and all of these needs, again, are needs that have been generally self-identified when folks do go in and see folks before they do the bailouts. And all these like supportive services that we are invested in and also are trying to offer people, right? And that depends on the landscape. So we know that some places, as Sharzar was just naming, even about like case management and like the challenges around that, like some folks have a wealth of resources depending on where you are, and some folks don't have any resources depending on where you are, right? And we have to like be real about that and like strategize and plan about how we hold our people in spite of, right? And the main reason where we have to invest so largely in supportive services, to date, we've spent over $300,000 in supportive services. And the reason that we've had to do that is because the state is not actually supporting our people or not meeting our people's needs. So therefore we have to. So that is the next work that all of these organizers who already have shared and have been throwing down is doing. And that National Bailout is invested in and helping to hold and support as well. And in addition to that, we will be having a debrief. So we've been talking about this for some time now, but it's going to be happening. And we will be debriefing hopefully with all of y'all that have joined us as panelists, and also hopefully y'all who are our attendees who have thrown down for a bailout. So whether or not you have actually did an actual bailout or did supportive services, we really want to come together to share our lessons, to share our victories, and to strategize about how we move together collectively. So that will be from Thursday, June 27th, through Sunday, the 30th, and particularly for folks, basically from Sunday through the 30th. If you are not part of the advisory committee of National Bailout, then it'll be a day debrief that will be all day on Friday, June 28th. And we are planning for it to be in Atlanta. So we will be sending that out. If you have thrown down for a bailout, please come join us. Come share with us the things. Like let us rejoice. Let us also like mourn. Let us do whatever it is that we need to do. But let us move as well. So that is my other next step for National Bailout. And then we have a huge next step that I'm going to pass it to Janae Taylor to talk about because she is here.
You could talk now.
Yeah, and that's the Free Black Mamas Fellowship. So Janae Taylor, take us away.
Hi, can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
This is great. This is wonderful. My lips. I feel like I need to put my lipstick on. It's not popping right now.
Yeah,
y'all know me. I like to stunt all the time. As a DC native, it is my duty to look fabulous. So I'm over here looking at Tiara with a popping, your popping lipstick and your popping brows. Boo boo, I see you. But I got my little necklace on from Mexico, so I'm a little popping, a little bit.
You know you popping, girl.
Girl, you popping. Shout out to the National Bailout, cause look at Tiara, y'all. Man, me and Arissa was over here texting like, oh my God. I love what we've been able to do. And shout out to Sam for holding it down in the DMV this year, because it's really beautiful to see the photo she posted at the last photo with all the mamas in the group, because we had mamas in there from the first year we ever did it, when we had wild ass dreams. We was just out there being regular niggas. So appreciate Samantha for refining us with your smooth self. All right now. All right, so we just want to tell everybody we're really, really excited. This year, we're creating a national fellowship program called #Free Black Mamas Fellowship. And we're super excited. Last year, we were able to do a small cohort that Tiara was a part of. Hello. She was out there speaking the truth and stuff. And we did it for about 4 weeks last fall. And then we all got together for our gathering at the Free Her Conference, the very first Free Her Conference. Shout out to Andrea and the National Council for Formerly Incarcerated and Incarcerated Women and Girls. Look at me with all of my words, no acronyms. And so this year, we are creating a national fellowship program that is going to have 2 cohorts starting in June, ending right around the 4th of July. And then we'll take the month of July off to assess. And then we're gonna have a second cohort, August through the end of September, and prep for our national gathering year 2 at the Free Her Conference being held in Birmingham, Alabama. We get to go run up on past the Glasgow now. This is about to be life changing for everybody. I'm really excited because this is an opportunity where we get to like level up. So this year, our cohort, the first cohort, what we're doing, and everyone should be able to have the link. If you don't have the link yet, it's cool. We can get it to you. Applications are due next week. So what's going to happen is we are estimating for about 20 mamas right now for the first cohort, where we will give folks a stipend. And the fellowship is asking 2 questions. What do we need to do to keep our community safe? And how do we keep our communities out of cages? And so over the course of 6 weeks, mamas who have been bailed out in the last 3 years will be able to participate in the first cohort and level up, or also facilitate it. We'll see how that rolls. But most likely they'll just take the workshops and get deeper in the political analysis and start to create and use theater, music, and dance as a way to do some healing justice work for themselves and their community. And then after we come back in August for the second cohort, the mamas from the first cohort will then lead and facilitate the second cohort. And the second cohort will actually be the mamas that we bailed out this year. So as your mamas begin to wrap down their 90-day intake plan, they'll be getting prepped and ready to then be in cohort and in community with mamas who've already been bailed out, community members who've already dealt with incarceration in different ways. And then those 20 and 20, 40 people, along with the facilitators, will all be coming to our Birmingham gathering in October. And so, like I said, applications are due next week. We're really excited about it. There are a few commitments that are on there that we're asking organizations who are interested in this fellowship in holding. And so read through those commitments really carefully and ask yourself, is it something that you're able to do? And if you're not able to do it, please send us an email so we can try to maybe work with you all if you're still very, very interested. Our application process, shout out to NBO for putting the link down there. And so we're asking participating organizations to, one, make a commitment to 15 hours a week, and then two, make a commitment to every other Monday being on our National Fellowship Zoom call. And Tiara and Arissa can attest to this, that the Zoom calls are lit. Y'all think this one is cool? Y'all gotta be on these National Fellowship Zoom calls. All types of questions and information come out. I learned all new things. It is amazing to learn about the economies and the relationships of people in cages. Is very, very different. And we get to have a whole conversation about, what do we want to dream about? How do I actually transform harm? How do I live with the person who might cause me harm? Different things of that nature. And so we'll be on a call every other Monday on a Zoom link. You don't have to gather. You can share the link, get on the phone from wherever you are. And then we're asking folks just to commit to gathering for some deeper political education, some theory, some praxis during the week. And the pay is $13.50 per mama. It's a flat stipend amount, even though we're asking folks to commit to 15 hours per week for 6 weeks. And it's some coaching. And then I'll be coming around with a few other folks coming to cities to do site intake, to check out people, because the big dream is, and get real close if you want to hear about this. This is the big dream, is that after all of this, we could possibly put together a beautiful play to share at the gathering in October, and then maybe we'll just go on a national tour. Who knows? We might get a bus. We never know what's going to happen from here. Our deep desires is to take this message and take this information that we have learned about this cash bail system to the masses of the United States of America, especially those who don't want us to have free rights to have abortions as we need. Let's have safety in this world. We're going to bring the show to them. Hopefully, that's the goal. We'll see. Well, that's all that I have. If you have questions or comments or anything, you can hit us up. I'm info@gildapapoose.com. I'll put it in the chat, and you can also just fill out the application, because then Delane and Arissa and me together can help answer questions, which is better than just me. Thanks, friends. Oh, look at Samantha. She put it in there. Shout out to Samantha.
Teamwork is a great word. Thank you so much, Janae Taylor, for your leadership, for your vision, for your flyness, and sharing all of these things with us. So that kind of wraps up our next step. So just to go over, supportive services is a whole thing that we are now continuing to do the work to hold our mamas, to support our mamas, and to hopefully facilitate them living in their dignity, right? And then, as Janae just so lovely laid out, we are doing a fellowship, and it's going to be bigger, better, Blacker than ever. So yes to that. Get your applications in. Please do that. Cohort 1, mamas that already participated, mamas that y'all have been building with, who have been previously bailed out. Cohort 2, again, mamas that was bailed out this year. And then come join us in Atlanta, June 27th through 28th or 29th, if you are not a part of the advisory committee, and June 27th through the 30th if you are. Join us. Let's debrief, let's strategize, let's move. And I think those are the other next steps that, yeah. So now I'm gonna throw it back to Delane Powerful to take it away.
Hi. Dope. So we have about 25 minutes left in this webinar. We want to hear from folks who have participated in a bailout, and that can mean you did a bailout yourself. You raised some coins to get these Black mamas and caregivers out. You figured out what type of supportive services they need and figured out ways to get them for them. You've been part of the homecoming celebrations. We want to hear from y'all for the next couple minutes. So if anyone is on the call and wants to share, we would love that. You can go ahead and raise your hand and I will allow you to talk. If you need to know how to raise your hand, there's probably a hand button somewhere. Or you can just go ahead and message me and I'll go ahead and allow you to talk. Okay, so while we're waiting for some folks to do that, I think we have some questions that came in. And so I can start us on those questions, and then if anyone who's interested in talking about their bailouts puts a hand up or lets me know, then we can move back towards that. So there was a question, I'm just scrolling up in this chat box. So panelists, there was a question around what are the barriers that folks have experienced to bail out mamas and caregivers other than money? What are some of the barriers that y'all have experienced? And then we can also add that to how have y'all decided who gets to be bailed out? So anyone can feel free to answer these.
I know. Go ahead, Tiara.
I was gonna say, I know in Philly, we got a request for a mom, and she had a $50,000 cash only, no 10%. It had to be $50,000 cash only bond, which was a little high. They decided not to bail mom out, but also offer some supportive services and to try and, find an attorney that could possibly work with the family, a participatory defense hub, and volunteers with the Defenders Association to help mom because they did want $50,000 cash. There was no 10% on that. I feel like that was a barrier because she was 17. And what was the charge? She was charged with assault and she got into an altercation, but she was breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter and she was 17. So they wasn't giving her 10%. And she's a juvenile technically, but they charging her as an adult because she's 17. So that was just one of the, it's like, how do you make a determination? Because they were saying in the risk, it's going to be an inquiry that come to you because they were asking last night to see if we could ask the national bailout. And they asked me, and I was like, well, I don't know. You probably would have to, email Arissa and ask how does that work with the national bailout posting have and the Philly Bail Fund posting have.
Yeah, we got it. Yep, we got it. We got it.
So, and we were getting out of county, not in the Philadelphia County, but in Monroe County and Montgomery County. And are we telling these people, no, it's just for Philadelphia County? And how do you make that determination? Like, how do we say we're not going to bail out moms in Monroe County, and Montgomery County and Delaware County, and they're like all like, it's just like a couple of streets that divide the county. So, to make the determination, we're not going to bail out people in Monroe, Montgomery, Delaware, and just Philadelphia. Like, what are the stipulations and restrictions around that and why? So it's just learning. That was like something that came up. We get out of Philadelphia County request, cash only, no 10%. And I think it was a lactation. They requested bond bail, but also to see if we could go and pick up baby milk for a mom that was breastfeeding. And if we can't support, maybe finding resources that can support these mamas, even if it's not something we can do, and not just saying no, and actually getting back to families to see if the resources we connected them to actually work and help, and if not, connect them to something else.
Right.
So
Thank you.
that's like a big thing of mine is I'm a mama, and I'm always thinking, like, if you don't call me back, I'm really offended. So just that follow through, that follow up, and making sure we can help our mamas to still have that connection to where we can refer you somewhere and follow up, because we might can help you another time, but just not saying no and cutting you off and leaving you out there. So, and to have that follow up and that connection with our people, because they still our mamas, regardless if we can help them or not.
Thank you, Tiara. Yes, I love that point. Just like capacity, funding. There are so many things that restrict people from us from being able to, if we could bail out all the Black moms and the caregivers, we can bail out all the Black folks. If we could bail out all folks in general, we would, but there's so many things that prevent us from doing that. But it doesn't mean that, like Tiara was saying, we can't continue to be building community and to let these folks know that they're loved and they're thought of, and that we can still provide them services. So thank you for that. I want to provide space for anyone else to answer those questions, and then we have Justice who wants to speak to her bailout efforts this year.
So I will add to both what Tiara and Shahrazar just offered, which is like some of the things that have prevented us, not prevented, but have been barriers, have been, so in Maryland, we underwent a particular type of judicial bail reform, where the highest court in Maryland offered new guidelines about how bail should be assessed. And judges have perverted these rulings to remand bail for more people. So what we've seen like an increase and more people released on their own recognizance. We've also seen an increase in people held with bail because judges have been perverting these rules in order to hold more people on previously bondable offenses. So the remanding of bail is one barrier that we actually haven't been able to surmount, right? So first degree assault, and I think it's important to highlight, you can be charged with anything. A charge is not an indictment, and a charge is not a conviction. It is just what the police say that they think you did. And so people have been charged, like we see police overcharging people, and we see people bail being assessed by commissioners who are layperson like you and I. So like literally I can go down to the state website and apply to be a bail commissioner and then assess people's bail. And I used to work at Bank, like when I was like 19, I worked at Bank of America. Take it as you will. But I had a stronger training as a teller at Bank of America than bail commissioners have as judicial officers. And those are the people who are the first line of defense to assess bail, and judges often accept bail commissioners' rulings for how people's bail should be assessed. So just like I had a 3-week training at Bank of America, there's a 3-week training to be a judicial commissioner, and the commissioners are the people who assess bail. And in Maryland, there is no bail schedule, there's no fee schedule. People can assess bail based on how they feel and what they want, with literally no checks and balances. So we're seeing a higher number of people remanded or denied bail based on based on bail commissioners in the state. And so like that is a barrier that's not monetary. Risk assessments in Maryland is a barrier that's not monetary. So when people like you go in, you get arrested, you go in, someone comes in and they're like, yeah, is any of your family incarcerated? Do you have a place to stay? Do you have a cell phone? And all of those become points on, a risk assessment. And people don't know this going in. They think they're talking to somebody who's trying to get them out. So like the clarity and transparency is completely murky and bullshit. But people think they're talking to someone who cares about them. And really what commissioners are doing is they are using folks' lack of housing, lack of job, criminal history, FTAs, their family history. Like my cousin who lives with me was arrested and had an FTA, and those go on points in a risk assessment. And that's how commissioners are determining if someone will be a risk to failure to appear and their bail is being remanded or denied. And so the risk assessment tools are actually a barrier to equitable bail hearings because bail shouldn't exist anyway. But what people think of as like the next logical step is like, we're going to risk assess someone. It's actually causing people to be incarcerated indefinitely, no matter what the state's evidence is. So what we've seen in Maryland and the DMV is that people's risk assessments do not map onto the state's evidence, so you can just be held indefinitely with no state evidence. And also, like, so those are two like major issues. And obviously the last major issue is that the state is not concerned with how people can get back to their court date. So they are not asking based on a needs-based approach, how can we support you in getting back to your court date? They are only asking, are you a risk? And if you map on risk to Blackness, risk to femness, risk to Black womanness, risk to community, then what you will find is Black people, especially Black women, being overcharged as risks. So in Maryland, we've seen literally when white people are assessed bail, they are assessed bail at the third of a rate of Black people. Black people are assessed bail at 3 times of Black people. And so we're seeing a continuation of an over-assessment of Black bodies being risks across gender. And that is like a thing that as we work to encash bail and pretrial detention, we also need to implement a robust needs assessment tool that does not calculate Black people as risks, but asks, what do you need in order to make it back to your court date? And how can state resources be allocated toward need and not towards the inherent presumption that you are a risk? I also feel compelled to I know Nini's so Black Lives Matter DMV has been holding us down as well. And just want to offer that the more community support we can garner, the more organizations and people and organized bodies we can garner to throw down around our analysis offers us a better way to strike at the state for all of the fuck shit they're admitting to our people.
Thank you, Sam.
Yes.
Yes, all that historical context, number one, and connecting it to modern day. And that reminds me of our Black Bail Code. So I'm about to put the link to right now. That connects the Black Codes post-Civil War era to just how bail and different ways that bail has shown up to restrict people's movement, that continue just to limit Black folks and be able to be with their families, be with their loved ones, being not in cages, being in their homes, just continue to criminalize Black folks, how it's directly connected to these Black codes that we saw post-Civil War. So I just put that link into the chat box, and I encourage folks to look at that, because there are also some other things in there that give examples as to the ways that it's really hard to bail out folks, because, for example, you bail out someone, they can lose their public defender. And so those are other difficulties that folks across the country have been experiencing when trying to post bail, trying to figure out ways to get our folks out and making sure that when they come out, they're good. So thank you so much for that. So Justice, I'm gonna allow you to speak.
Elaine, hold on. I just also want to respond to Sam. And one of the other next steps that I did not mention is that a needs assessment working group is actually in the process of working and developing that tool to be implemented, which is being led by Law for Black Lives. So shout out to Marbury and Erica. So if folks also are interested in being a part of that working group, let us know and we will connect y'all.
Yes, just drop Teresa's email address, dropping mine right now. And I'm allowed Justice, thank you so much for that, Rissa. I'm allowed Justice to, you now can talk. And yeah, you're not muted anymore. So go ahead and talk and let us know about your bailout efforts this year.
Yeah, hey everybody. Let me see. I don't see, I can't find my button for my video. So I'm really.
You should be good now. Justice, you there?
Oh, okay. Yeah, hey, okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, this year, well, this year was a little tougher than last year, actually. And we came upon a lot of things. But one of our organizers who, when we first started organizing and having our meetings, her mom was arrested. So she ended up being like one of the first persons that we helped out. She was subject to a breathalyzer and blew and nothing came. And so they wasn't satisfied with that and they took her in and they wanted her to blow again. And so with that one, they just decided to give her a DUI charge, although they couldn't justify it with the breathalyzer. And that makes me think about surveillance. That makes me think about the equipment that's being used to charge people. Even, I think about the false positives of drug tests. And so it could be faulty equipment. And even they may even know that it's faulty. And so that's been on my mind. We got a woman out she had a housing code violation, meaning that she had a lot of weeds in her yard. So she ended up in jail over that. And that's a typical thing that happens here in Kansas City, housing code violations. And while I was looking up another person, I happened to think about it because my husband and I own a couple of properties, and I looked his name up, and he has a warrant, and we didn't even know it, for a housing code violation that we didn't even know about. So he's got to go to court tomorrow. And that's another thing that happens when, because he has to go to court quite often. He meets people there, and they're like, I got a warrant and didn't even know it. And that's happening to us a lot here. We helped out a mom who had a bunch of warrants on her because she was going to work, working at the hospital, and had a bad tag, and they just kept coming every day ticketing her because they knew that she was over there. So we got the warrant off of her, took care of her tickets, got her all the way straight, keeping her in community with us, keeping in close contact actually with all the mamas. And another woman, we actually tried to get out last night. Actually, I'm gonna come back to that one. There's a woman who's locked up in another jail in Clay County. We got her bail straight, but this is the issue, and this is coming up. They want her on a GPS monitor, although she's pre-trial and hasn't been convicted of a thing. Her big barrier is that she doesn't have anywhere to go. So we got her linked up with a homeless shelter who's going to allow her to stay there and everything, and we'll get her some other services. But the company, when I reached out to them about this, they're like, well, no, that's not her permanent address. We can't do that. And so I talked to them and I worked out something with them, and they finally said, okay, but they want they want a co-signer who makes at least $1,500 every 2 weeks, who brings that home, or they want stop it, I'm on a call. Or they want a $2,000 deposit, and they want a $318 setup fee, and they want $84 a week after, even after. So it's you see all those barriers kind of stack up. But I have it, you know, we can get her out with, you know, we can pay the $318, we can pay a month or two's worth of her fees. I got another person, folks who committed to pay a month's worth. So I'm figuring we can figure out that month thing, but it's just getting her started. Like, who's gonna co-sign for her? She has no family here. And can we get, you know, and I'm thinking raise the $2,000 to put down to, as what they're saying is an option to a co-signer. So that's going on with her, but I hope that we can, I'm gonna go try to visit her tomorrow. But we're gonna keep working with her. We're gonna keep working until we get her done, out, and then I'm gonna stick with her until she gets through her case. She was abused. She got children taken away from her, and like our group is committed to sticking by her till she get her children back, and that we want to be like, I don't ever want to lose contact with her.
That makes me think about a question that someone asked, because it seems like there's a lot of hard decisions that have been coming up in regards to how do you decide, and how do you figure out, and how do you make these hard decisions as to whether or not you can and you will bail a mama out. And the question was, how do you lean on your values? What you're speaking to a lot of other folks in the call have been speaking about too. How do you lean on your values when hard decisions are coming up? So an example that person had used in their question was deciding whether or not to bail out a mama who has child endangerment charges. So we'll love to hear from, I know we only have 3 minutes left on the call. Maybe we can do like a quick lightning round. Just how do you make those hard decisions when things like that come up? Lightning round.
So this is really, really critical, but also timely for me. We bailed out a mother with a child endangerment charge, but also a child sexual abuse charge, which is really a hard decision for our team to make. And the value we leaned into was, one, her bail was $100, and she had been sitting in a cage for a year for a $100. That we are an entity that is invested in, at least in the DMV, and I get this value from National Bailout and from all of the partners who have invested, that we are not judge, jury, or executioner. We know that no matter the charge, that people have a right to, one, just representation, and two, they have not been convicted of anything. And so I see the courts and police overcharge people all the time in hopes of a conviction, but not in hopes of justice. And so the questions that we have asked locally in the midst of these really difficult, these hard, these politically contradictory conversations is, can we offer a container of support where families and communities can identify what justice looks like? And is the cage an adequate container for justice? And the second question, the answer is always no. The cage never represents an adequate container for justice. And so what we need is an identifier of what justice is like for survivors and for the people who have been held behind bars, often without necessarily merit. Right? And so like it's a difficult conversation. It's difficult. And I don't want to make something that is difficult feel easy. But I am clear. Survivors have been clear. People who are behind the wall have been clear that, one, no one gets to a point of harm without being harmed themselves. And the cage is never an adequate assessment of justice for anyone. And we can engage communities in conversations about what justice, what freedom, what restitution in a non-monetary sense looks like. And if we are keeping people caged, if we are keeping them confined, if we are violating their human rights through the institution that is the US prison system, then we can never get to justice for those who have been harmed, right? Because the two are actually antithetical. So what we've decided to do is we decided that we had the financial resources to bail that person out. We had the emotional resources to engage a conversation about what has happened and what justice looks like. And we have a commitment to following through post bailout on how we can support families and communities on restoration, on healing, on justice, on whatever we can support on, to making sure that harm is not replicated. It is not easy, it is not simple, but it is a commitment that we as community are poised to engage in, and that is the breadth and depth of this action for us. So I offer that we have to be willing to engage past the charge and engage in people themselves, and that none of us are without causing harm, being harmed, and that what we have been accused of is not the sum total of who we are.
That was delicious, Sam, to use your words. Your brilliance literally knows no bounds. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are at our time of 7:30, and I really feel like, I mean, there's so much more to be added to that conversation, and I think that Sam really moved us through and like made that really succinct and comprehensive in a way that makes me want to process and think this more after this call. But I would love really quickly, I know we don't want to hold y'all past our time that we said 7:30, so I just have a quick few updates or just check-ins, and then we will end our call. And you have a bunch of email addresses within this chat box, so feel free, please, to link us if anything's coming up, if you have questions or thoughts or just things you want to have more conversation around. So really quickly, again, if you did a bailout and you want to attend the debrief and you have not received the debrief survey, it's in our chat box. If you're missing it, then you can go ahead and email either myself or Arissa. It's just our first name, Delaine. I think Arissa's about to play in the chat box, at nationalbailout.org, and Arissa, ARISSA, at nationalbailout.org. Also, if you have mamas for this first round of the fellowship that you're really interested in, or are really interested in being a part of this first cohort of the fellowship, then again, fill out that survey that's in the chat box, or reach out to Janae Taylor, who spoke earlier, myself or Arissa, and Sam had put Janae's, I believe, email in there beforehand. And then if you have photos and videos, things that you want to be uplifted regarding the bailouts and the homecoming celebrations and everything you've been doing for Black Mama's Day bailout, go ahead and I put Steve, who spoke earlier, email in the chat box, email Steve and send all those things out so we can amplify that and make it visible and just really, again, make this comprehensive narrative about what has been going on for the past couple weeks regarding Black mamas in this bailout. So if there are no other further things, I'll thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for staying with us past 7:30 and looking forward to this debrief of all these dope people on this panel in June, and loving and excited to continue doing this work. Oh, did I put the wrong email in there? Okay, perfect. All right, cool. All right, everyone. Later.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Delaine.
Bye.
All right, Black love.
Bye,
Black
Black
love,
people.
black love, black love, black love.
Black love.
Black love. Peace.